Good morning, Dr. Vijay Shankaran. Thank you so much for your time. And we are currently, this is for all the listeners, we are currently sitting in Bangalore IBC Knowledge Park in MediAssist office. And I'd like to introduce Dr. Vijay Shankaran, who is the Chief Claim Officer with MediAssist.
Thank
Sir, please tell us something about how you being as a doctor, because our team did a little research and we figured that you were a surgeon before, an orthopedician, and you've then entered into an insurance background. So please tell us about your background, your transition to the insurance industry.
Morning, Ankur. Pleasure being here with you. So yes, I by qualification I am an orthopedic surgeon. I completed my medical studies about 25 years back. So initially I was into the healthcare background. I used to work across many geographies in India. So I started my career in Delhi, moved to Chennai, then to Telangana, and I really enjoyed being a surgeon during my initial years. I think it was by chance that I moved to the insurance sector. I wouldn't say it was a planned transition. An opportunity came up. ICICI Lombard by chance gave me a call for an interview. I just went there and had a great day. Giving
I
an
guess
interview.
you enjoyed that interview so much that you chose to like move
Yeah.
to the other side of the desk.
So the biggest qualification they said for me to join insurance was I had no knowledge of insurance. That's the reason they chose me. So it was a new career path. I joined it, wanted to explore it for a few years, and maybe go back to what I was doing, which is surgery, which I still love a lot. That's how the journey started. It was really not a planned switch. So that has been the journey on the insurance side. And I think after maybe 15 years of insurance and seeing all the verticals and heading it, I got a bit bored and sick of the same life. So I was planning to quit and
Okay.
do something on my own.
Okay.
So I think it was by chance Satish Gidugu, our CEO, gave me a call and asked me what I was doing. I told him what I was doing. I am planning to start something on my own and wanted to be a part of, other than doing my own, maybe a part of a startup.
Mhm.
So he called me. Honestly speaking, he brainwashed me.
A typical interview, huh?
There was no interview. It was more like a sales pitch.
A convincing pitch.
Yeah. For 3 days, I was brainwashed by him and his team
Wow.
to join MediAssist.
Right.
He told me about what the fantastic things MediAssist has been doing. And I have been observing MediAssist doing very well because I have been associated or working with them since 2011. So I know them closely.
Okay.
So I ended up joining MediAssist in 2022.
Okay.
So since then I have been in MediAssist. So initially I used to manage the strategy part. I was not into operations, but I think for last 1 year, Satish requested me to take over the operations part. So
All
today I handle the entire
Entire
operations.
claims process altogether.
Yeah,
Fantastic. So, what is MediAssist, Dr. Shankaran? Like, when you hear a brand like MediAssist, what does it entail? What does MediAssist do?
So see, MediAssist is the biggest healthcare benefits provider or administrator in India today.
Okay.
So we are basically one of the services that we provide is a third-party administrator service to all the insurance companies. So we are an intermediary for an insurance company. So insurance companies basically sell their insurance products, especially their health products, but they are not specialists in delivering the services that are required. So we are the service provider. We are a bridge between the insurer, the policy holder, and the provider, which is usually the healthcare side, the hospitals.
Okay.
So that is the role we play in facilitating the delivery of services to the customer.
So, just for the listeners, third-party administrator is also called a TPA, right?
Correct.
Okay. So, Dr. Shankaran, a lot of people don't understand what a TPA or a third-party administrator is. So, just for the listeners and the viewers, could you please elaborate about what a TPA is and who are your stakeholders in this entire ecosystem?
Sure, that's a good question. I agree that TPA is not a terminology that is well understood by people across the country. So a TPA is basically a third-party administrator. So as a third-party administrator, we are basically an intermediary to provide the services that an insurer underwrites and a customer or a policy holder is supposed to get. So there are basically, if you see, three main stakeholders. I would say four, but basically there are three main stakeholders. The first one being the insurer, who issues the or underwrites a policy. So he is underwriting a policy with certain terms and conditions. Basically, an insurer is underwriting policies across the board. Health is one of the portfolios, right? Okay. So he is not a specialist in health insurance, but there are certain companies like standalone which are called specialist health insurers. So general health insurers have a broad base, health being one of them. So they are one of the key stakeholders. So for them, what we do is we service their the claims of their customers or policy holders. The claims that come in are adjudicated by us, and a decision is passed on, which to the insurer, which the insurer either accepts or rejects the decision as they seem fit. Okay. But we are basically providing them the knowledge to take a final decision on them. Along with that, we also help them in paying the right claims. What do I mean by right claims? So there are a lot of frauds happening in the market.
Right.
So we at the back end look into those claims. We have advanced mechanisms. We have AI ML mechanism working at our back end.
Oh, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's quite an advanced technology that we use today, so that the right person gets the right amount.
Okay.
This helps the insurer also to maintain the right pricing, because wrong claims going out tends to increase the premiums. And along with it, there is a seamless coordination which we have to do between the insurer and the hospital, because we are just the intermediary, right? So something comes in, we adjudicate, we pass it to the insurer, and he takes a decision. So there is a seameless coordination between the two of them.
Okay. So the one stakeholder you mentioned is hospitals. The second one is
the first was the insurer I spoke of.
Okay.
Second stakeholder is basically the hospital. Now hospital is the service provider, right?
Okay.
So in a health benefits administrator, as a health benefit administrator, we have to deal with people who are getting admitted, and then we facilitate a cashless transaction is what we call, by tying up with hospitals. So the hospital, rather than taking money from the customer or the insurance company, comes to us and gets an authorization for a guarantee of payment. Right. So that is the second stakeholder we deal with.
Okay.
We are the third and the most important stakeholder is basically the policy holder. Imagine you have taken a policy and you need to get admitted to a hospital and take treatment. So where does he go? So he comes to a third-party administrator. We were talking about were the hospitals. So hospitals are basically the service providers where our customers or the policy holder goes for taking a treatment. So we interact. We are the ones who go and tie up with them, so that on behalf of the insurers, so that when a customer walks into a hospital, they know where to reach out. Say in case somebody talks about availability of insurance with them. So that is the second part which we facilitate. We are intermediaries, taking in requests from the hospitals, adjudicating whether it's right or wrong, and recommending our decision to the insurer so that they can go ahead and issue the guarantee of payment. So this is the second important stakeholder in the chain. The third important stakeholder, I would say, is the policy holder.
Okay.
So you
like us, like any individual.
Right. You or me would have taken a policy. But if you see, it's not always the individuals who take a policy, right? So there are corporates which take policies for their employees.
Correct. I was going to come on to that as well.
Right. So there are two types of policies basically. One issued by the employers, which is called an employer-employee policy, and all the employees get the benefit through an insurance company. The second would be a retail policy where you and me can individually approach an insurance company and take a policy directly from them. So both these policies have certain TPAs in between to provide the end services to them. So that is where we are, and the policy holder again reaches out to us. So it happens in two ways. If he reaches out to a hospital and the hospital is on our network, so he can avail cashless. So then the hospital approaches us. Or if he or she chooses not to avail a cashless treatment, he pays the bill at the hospital. Somewhere he has to reach out to get that reimbursed. So again, he reaches out to us as an intermediary, and then we assess the bill and send out the recommendation to the insurer. And then the insurer makes the payment directly to the customer. So we are just an intermediary. We are not dealing with
We are
cash.
basically facilitating the entire process altogether for the policy holder and for the insurers.
Right.
Right. Now, I have a question from a consumer or an individual perspective here. Now that a Medi Assist or a TPA is there in between to mediate the entire process, how do you guys figure out how much money is to be paid? Is it the underwriting which has been done already before, or some what are the terms and conditions for it? Because every policy has different terms and conditions, right? And every individual goes for a claim, which basically gives out. They basically think that okay, I'll get an entire claim altogether.
Right.
But there are always hidden. They're very hidden statements in between to it. Like for example, there's a car gets into an accident. There are certain products which an insurance company does not cover because you haven't taken it.
Yeah.
Like consumables or any other product, right?
Correct.
So how does it work in the healthcare sector? Because it's very a booming sector when it comes to as an industry.
Correct. No, you are right. Actually, that's a good question. See, every policy that is issued, be it an employer-employee policy or a retail policy, has certain terms and conditions, and these terms and conditions are clearly written out and given out to the customer.
All right.
It's basically the customers and the employer's responsibility to tell the employee or for us to read the documents. They are very much clearly written down on what's payable, what's not payable. So once a policy is underwritten and placed, that policy copy is shared with us, and we at the back end have systems where we can update those terms and conditions. So basis the terms and conditions that are applicable to the policy holder, that is how the adjudication and the payability is arrived at. And there is nothing hidden. Even if you see, we call a certain section as a non-payable item, which is also very well defined by the regulator themselves. And nobody goes over or beyond those set guidelines. And every information and every deduction that happens, that's clearly mentioned, and every paisa that is deducted is transparently shown to the customer on what we have approved and what we have deducted.
So Dr. Vijay, एक सवाल हर एक के पास रहता है whenever they go to a hospital, which is whenever somebody gets hospitalized, it's the bill which matters the most, and it is out there in the market that medical insurance is extremely important. So I really wanted to cover upon the medical bills or medical inflation per se. Currently, our Indian economy inflation is anywhere around 5% approximately, and medical inflation is close to about 11 to 14%. So how's Medi Assist actually helping out in order to curb that? And how do we get into a market where India as a nation, we have a very less penetration into insurance industry? People usually don't go for an insurance considering that we don't really need it, whatever reasons, right? Only the corporates go for it. Or somebody who are from a government entity, they get it from the government, right? But somebody like a farmer, they don't really go for it, right? They end up paying like a huge bill.
Right.
So can you touch upon on that?
Sure. That's a fantastic question, I would say. So, yes, the medical inflation is higher than the general inflation if we look at it in a broad sense. Um, so, like you mentioned, it's around 11% today. Um, so, what does it mean? It means that every year, so if you go this year, if a bill is 100 rupees, if you go next year, it would be 111 rupees.
Oh.
It's a huge jump in the on the pocket of the customer.
The cost of treatment increases just like that.
Absolutely. It's not only so a medical bill consists of various components, right? So it multiplies. It's not a linear impact. So finally, the cost of treatment becomes very costly. So at MediAssist, what we do is we work very hard. We work with the hospitals. We negotiate rates with them in such a way that the costs are kept low and the advantage is passed to the customers. If you see, if you look at MediAssist over the past years, even though the general medical inflation has been in the range of 11 to 14%, but we have been able to, through the power of negotiation, bring it down or keep it down to around 5%.
Which is approximately the same amount of inflation percentage which Indian economy is facing currently. Okay.
Absolutely. So
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's how we do it, and we make sure that this advantage is passed to all the customers who work or who choose MediAssist as their partner or intermediary. So that's the advantage we pass on, and that's how we control the medical inflation in the industry.
All right. And to the follow-up part of my second question, which is penetration of insurance company into a market which is like tier 2, tier 3,
Right.
farmers or any laborer for that matter. The laborers are usually covered under ESIC, right?
Yeah.
They're under government. But again, that has a capping of 21,000 a salary, right? But daily wages, they still go through a lot of problem. If they end up going to any government hospital like a Safdarjung, AIMS or any government hospital.
Right.
So how can somebody, or maybe what is the solution to it with still a vast market to be covered?
True. I think this is a challenge that I think everybody is facing, including the government of India, which has a target of reaching 100% insurance by 2047. So that's a challenge where we partner with our insurance companies as well. The advantage with MediAssist is the reach. So we have a vast reach. We are present in every corner of the country. I think we must be the only people having a presence even in Andaman and Nicobar, right?
Oh wow!
So that's how far and widespread we are. So we have tie-ups across the country. We today have around 18,000 plus hospitals on our network. Which spans tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Even we even partner with the government in the government health schemes and help them administer the
process
policies
altogether.
Correct.
Right.
So that's how that's where we contribute in say trying to increase the reach of insurance across the country. Yeah, it's still a long way to go, but yes, that's the endeavor that we have to partner and increase the reach.
Right. So how does the government entity functions in that case, since you've mentioned that? So the corporate is one, hospital insurance that you've covered as a stakeholders. Now that you mentioned that you have government entities where you again mediate for them.
Yeah.
So what is the process for that?
So the process is almost similar. The only difference is that the government schemes are, so they run in two ways. So either they run their schemes through insurance companies or they manage it on their own.
Okay.
So if they manage it on their own, they appoint certain TPAs to administer the benefits or the claims. And again, the process remains the same. It's not much different. Mm-hmm. The only difference is that in a government scheme, you don't have reimbursements. They are all cashless network hospitals where the treatments are happening. Mm-hmm. And we process the claims for them. So there is absolutely no difference. The only difference is that the government is paying the money for the treatment.
For the treatment. All right. So thank you so much for the insight, Dr. Vijay. I have another follow-up question to it. There's a lot of chatter of late in the news about um the increase in the medical insurance premium, and because of which a lot of people are unable to renew their medical insurance. And I think there is a percentage of increase they are saying for about like 10% approximately. So having said that, having an increase on it, so I would like your take on that fact as well. And how do we curb, like what should be the solution for it?
Yeah, that's true. I think the insurance premiums have been going up year on year, and a lot of factors contribute to it. So we spoke about one of the factors, which is medical inflation, where we work hard to keep the outgoes low. So that's one of the pieces which we already work on. I think the second and an important part, like I touched initially, is a lot of fraudulent claims coming into.
You did mention in the beginning of our conversation about. I really wanted to cover that part as well. Thank you so much for touching that upon again.
So right. So fraud does not only include one component. We call it fraud, waste, and abuse. Whereas fraud is an outright fraud, and waste and abuse is where there is overcharging, which happens at the hospitals and services.
I believe this is one of the major problem which a lot of hospitals and insurance companies are facing right now.
Right, you are right. So fraud, waste, and abuse is a very big component which contributes to an increase in premiums, because we are paying to the wrong people. So that's where we at MediAssist we have cutting edge AI technology today. Our AI engines are sharp and work across, I assume, around 200 data points.
Oh.
So we detect a fraud at every claim level if it is possible, and we are able to score every entity which is involved, be it an intermediary, be it a hospital, be it a customer, even at the level of a mobile number or an email ID. We are able to see and detect collusion.
Okay.
And it plays a big part.
It definitely does, because fraud detection engine is something I never heard of it, honestly. And if you guys have that's shows that how committed you guys are, or MediAssist is at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And we work with 13,000 plus corporates. We work with all the 29 insurers across the country. So the amount of data that flows in, and the technology that's available today, and we have built it in-house, gives us an edge in detection. And I think this year we have helped catch a lot of frauds. So there is a misconception, if we speak of, there's a misconception in the market that usually employer-employee policies don't have frauds. But that's not true. Even on the corporate side, the employees are involved in creating a lot of fraud. So we are there. We partner with our corporates. We partner with our insurers. We help providing evidence to them so that they are also aware of what's going on. This gives a lot of leeway, or it helps save a lot of money, which keeps the premiums down. Because after all, whatever is outgo, that is going to be the next year's premium. So it helps us control that. Great.
So Dr. Vijay, you mentioned one of your key stakeholder is a policy holder.
Right.
And you've covered a lot of aspects on fraud detection and everything. So how do you manage to do a seamless job and enhance a customer experience?
Yeah, right. I think the customer is the most important stakeholder. I think his views matter a lot. There are a lot of things that we do to enhance the customer experience. If you see, an insurance or a health insurance customer is not a normal customer. He's a person, either he is in pain or maybe his family members are in pain and he's in a hospital. and that requires an extra empathy to go into the service part. So we work hard. We have we have 3 or 4 things that we do to make life easier and the customer experience to be a delight. So one of the features that we recently launched and we run is called Raksha Prime. Raksha Prime is a service where a patient can really walk out of the hospital the moment doctor says you are ready for discharge. If you see today, typically, if you are experienced an insurance claim, when a person is told you can be discharged, it typically takes 3-4 hours or 5 hours for the end-to-end process to be completed. But with Raksha Prime, what we do is we enable them to walk out instantly as soon as the hospital's administrative job is done. So that's the power or experience that we provide to them. If we see, I think we have already enabled about 100,000 discharges till date. It's approximately 20,000 discharges a month. So that's the customer experience, one of the customer delights that we provide to our customers. I think you touched previously about the information flow to the customer. So that's the second thing that we do. So one of the things that we have enabled is something called as a member consent. So today, if you see what happens, you receive an approval letter after 3-4 hours, something is written on it, right? You may agree or disagree or may want to challenge. That increases the time frame again. So what we have gone ahead and done is enabled something called as a member consent, so that whatever is our decision, we ship it out to the customer so that he can look at it and agree or disagree. So when he disagrees, we re-look at it, and then if he's right, we change our decisions as well. So this is a way of being transparent and providing customer a chance to provide a feedback on the service that we are providing. Helps us reduce the grievances as well. So this is another important piece that we run for a customer delight.
Right.
So I have a couple of more. If you have an intervening question, I can wait.
No, please go ahead before I even continue with that, please.
Sure. So the third important part is, so as a consumer or a customer, I am confused, right? When I am going to go to a hospital, walk into a hospital,
Correct.
I don't know what is the amount it's going to be approved through an insurance company.
That's precisely was my follow-up question
Right.
to it. Yes.
And what I will have to bear out of pocket.
Correct.
So at MediAssist, again, we have a cutting-edge AI tool which we have introduced, which is called a navigator.
Okay.
So you simply input certain parameters even before going to a hospital, like the hospital's name, the procedure you are going to undergo, or the room
Right.
you are going to avail, and we estimate and tell you what would be the approximate out of pocket expense that you would incur. And we are very sharp, we provide very sharp insights on that. So it helps the consumer or a customer to decide whether he wants to avail that treatment or be ready with the amount he has to bear when he is going to leave the hospital.
It's a very interesting tool altogether, sir,
Yeah.
because a lot of people don't go for a basic surgery like a gallbladder surgery.
Right.
Because, or maybe tonsil removals. So, a next hospital may be charging an X amount, and next hospital may be charging an X amount, and
Correct.
person really don't go for it because they don't have an actual cost, and the hassle of going to the hospital and getting an information like that becomes again another task. So,
Right.
that kind of app definitely would be helping out a lot of people in order to check the expenses.
Absolutely, yes.
सर ये सब तो ठीक है, मतलब आपने बिल्कुल एक फ्लारी बगीचा बना दिया है कस्टमर को वॉक करने के लिए, मुगल गार्डन बन गया है.
Correct.
बट सर व्हाट इज द प्रोसेस फॉर क्लेम फाइलिंग? दैट इज
Right.
अनदर टास्क. अब मुगल गार्डन आपने दिखा दिया, अब अंदर कैसे जाना है सर, आप ये बताइएगा.
Sure. I think the claim process typically remains same across the industry. So at MediAssist also it remains the same. I'll talk about member reimbursement, which is where the customer has paid the hospital bills and now wants to reimburse it through the insurance company. The process is fairly simple and not very complicated. It's available everywhere on the website, it's available on the apps, it's available with his policy documents as well. Ideally, there are certain set of documents which need to be submitted. So there is a certain clause in insurance which talks about intimation, right? Intimation is what you are supposed to say, I am going to get admitted or going to get a treatment. That's called a pre-intimation or intimation, which should ideally be given by the customer to the TPA or the insurance company so that we are aware that the event is happening and on what date it's happening. So that's the first step. Usually it should be done approximately 48 hours before a person is getting admitted, which can happen in most of the planned admissions. Whereas in an emergency, a leeway is given and should be intimated within 24 hours from admission.
Right.
So that's the first step. It's not mandatory, but it's desirable.
Okay.
So once that is done, the other documents that typically are required are, there's a claim form. Right. Every claim requires a claim form. You are supposed to fill up the claim form entirely with all the details, your personal details, your hospitalization details, your bills, etc., and what you are claiming. Because it's very important. You may have incurred a lack of a bill, but you may be claiming only 10,000 or 20,000. So you need to tell the insurer or the TPA what is the amount you want to ask for. So that's the first important step. And along with it, you are supposed to give all the original documents. So all the original hospital documents like a discharge summary, a bill, a receipt. Along with it, you have to provide your ID proof. Right? I don't know who you are. Right? I have to verify. I only have your name.
Aadhaar card, corporate ID card, everything.
Something like any of the government approved ID proofs.
Right.
So these typically have to be sent to us. Everything should be in original.
Okay.
And along with it, if there are some investigation reports, some films, etc., which have been, which you have, you should forward it to the TPA or the insurance company.
So, just for the viewers and the listeners here, the investigation report, by that you mean the actual report of the hospital, right? Like
Right.
if there's a ultrasound which has been done,
Absolutely.
that report, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Ultrasound, say an X-ray, or MRI, or a CT
Anything
scan.
of- that's called investigation report.
Yes, all those reports need to come in. There is one important, so in a reimbursement, basically, you are supposed to reimburse the money to the customer. The insurer is supposed to pay the money. I think today by mandate, payment cannot happen through check or cash. It is always an NEFT transfer that has to happen. So you are supposed to give a bank account check, basically cancel check, which should be personalized, right? Which should have all the details. So that's one of the most important documents. And also the other important document that would be there, because government today has a AML guideline which are running, right? So any claim which goes beyond 1 lakh of rupees, there is a mandatory KYC check that has to happen for the policy holder. So there are certain set of documents which are listed out. Again, ID proof and address proof of the proposer who is there, who is the main policy holder. So that should also be forwarded to the insurance company. So basically, if these documents are available in one shot, I think the process is very smooth. But as an insurer or as a TPA, I still may want to ask for some additional documents, which then
Based on case-to-case basis.
Right, we communicate to the customer and they end up paying, sending it to us, so we can adjudicate it. So basically, these are the set of documents which are required for a
Filing
typical
a claim.
claim to be filed. Yeah.
So, Dr. Vijay, I have another important question for you.
Yeah.
How many types of claims are there?
Okay. So typically, if you see, there are two major types of claims. So one is a cashless and the second is the member reimbursement. There are two other smaller pieces which we can say, which are the pre-hospitalization and the post-hospitalization claims, which are typically part of the reimbursement claims. So if you see, when a member is trying to get a treatment, so typically if you see, he would ideally go to our website and try to find out the hospital where he is going, whether it's on a cashless network or not, right? So that's where the cashless network comes in. A cashless is where a customer chooses to go to a network hospital. The hospital has tied up with us for service. So typically what happens is, when a person is admitted to a hospital, there is a TPA desk there. The TPA desk typically takes over the function of what I talked about, reimbursement, right? Filling up the forms, the details, treatment details, and forwarding the details to us. And then we adjudicate and give back a decision to the hospital on guarantee of payment, on what amount is to be paid. Typically in a cashless treatment, the customer ends up not paying a large part of the bill, only a small part, which is called out of pocket expenses, need to be paid by the customer. The rest of the transaction is between the two entities. It's a B2B transaction between me and the hospital, and finally the insurer. So this is typically a cashless process. So if he goes to a website and finds that the hospital he wants to go to is not on MediAssist network, then the second part of the claim comes in, which is called the member reimbursement. So member reimbursement is where he goes to a non-network hospital, or sometimes he chooses not to take cashless in a network hospital as well. That is also possible. So there he goes, gets a treatment, pays the bills, comes out. This again he has to send to the TPA for assessment and settlement. And there are two smaller pieces which I spoke about. So it is applicable to both cashless and reimbursement claims. So there are certain investigations, consultations that happen before somebody gets admitted related to the same illness. And there are certain treatments and tests again and consultations which happen typically post getting a discharge. So typically these claims are also payable. These are called pre-hospitalization and post-hospitalization claims, and the customer can file the same to us as a reimbursement, and they also are assessed and settled as per the payability. So typically 4 types of claims are there broadly.
Thank you so much for that insight again, Dr. Vijay. So, Dr. Vijay, what should one do if there is a need for an hospitalization?
Sure. I think at MediAssist, we assist people in choosing a hospital for hospitalization. So we have our website, and we have our own app, which is called the Maven app. The customer can go to the app or the website. There's a section where he can search for our cashless network, which is there. On the cashless or the network search page, you can search for any hospital basis the city or the PIN code that you want to avail the service in, and they will get a list of hospitals. So they can choose from that and then go to that hospital. Or else, if they have a certain preference for a hospital as well, so they can search the hospital and see whether it's on the network, on the same app or the website. If it is available, they can walk into the hospital and avail the cashless treatment there. So once he has gone and searched, so typically what will happen is, if you have certain hospital in your mind and you search on our app or a website and find that the hospital is not available on the network, what are the options available? So now the person has to go and get the treatment done and then file back to us for reimbursement. So that's the alternative that the person has. I would like to add one thing here. I think the regulator recently brought something like a cashless everywhere, where a non-network hospital can approach us through the customer to provide a cashless treatment. We enable that as well by negotiating with the hospitals. So that's also a service that we have available today.
Dr. Vijay, you had mentioned something called a Navigator, an app,
Right.
which basically tells you about the out-of-pocket expenses.
Right.
Now, what is an out-of-pocket expense? Like, I go to an hospital, there's a surgery cost.
Correct.
What is beyond that?
Sure. Say out-of-pocket expense is something that a customer has to bear out of his own pocket and insurance doesn't cover. So there are certain components to it, right? Like we spoke in the beginning, a policy has certain terms and conditions. So policy may say there is a copay. What is a copayment? So there is an agreement between an insurer and the customer when he takes the policy that a certain percentage will be borne by the insurance company and certain percentage by the customer. So say there's a 10% copay. So in a 100 rupee bill, 90 rupees will be borne by the insurer and 10% by the customer. So this is one of the out-of-pocket expense. There are certain terminologies like deductibles. So I say for the first 10 rupees, insurer and the customer agrees for the first 10 rupees, the customer will bear it and anything beyond 10 rupees will be borne. That's a deductible, another part of the out-of-pocket expense. And one of the most important components of out-of-pocket would be the non-medical expenses. So a non-medical expense is an expense which is not directly related to the treatment of the customer. So it's a defined list given by the regulator. Typically it would include say patient's attendant's food or say a file charge, something like that, which is over and above and beyond the medical necessity or the treatment part. So these three are the major components. There may be other minor components included in it. So that is what is out of pocket expense. With our navigator, which I spoke about, our navigator is again an AI powered tool, which is made in such a way that it's able to interpret your policy conditions as it is and apply all these out of pocket, which I spoke about, co-pays and deductibles, and also factor in the non-medical expenses which you would incur basis the vast data that we have seen over a period of time. So that's how we are able to predict it out of the navigator. So this is basically a broad explanation of what an out-of-pocket expense would be.
Okay. So, Dr. Vijay, another important aspect on a claim process perspective, it's a question actually. You have the bills ready with you. Somebody has gone to a hospital which is not in the network with MediAssist.
Right.
And it's a reimbursement process now. Reimbursal process I'm talking about. So how does it function? How does that work over there?
So once you have settled your bills, right, now you need to file for a reimbursement. Basically, you can go to our website and look up the documents which are required. And once you have the requisite documents, all you have to do is fill up the claim forms. We have a facility to upload the documents online as well in many of the corporates and even some retail policies. So you submit the documents online, it reaches us. Once that is done, your claim process has started, but you are supposed to send the original document. So you courier that to any of the main offices across the country. It reaches there, and then the process takes off. This is one of the ways. These are two different ways in which you can basically file the reimbursement claims with us.
So would you like to sum up in a nutshell what MediAssist is and what TPA is, and what does the MediAssist does?
Sure. I think to sum up, so we spoke about a TPA. So a TPA or a third party administrator is basically an intermediary between the insurer and the policyholder and the hospitals, and provides claim services to the customer, right? So that's primarily what a TPA is. And as MediAssist, I spoke about the capabilities that we bring, being the biggest healthcare administrator in this country. in terms of controlling the medical inflation, paying the right claims by detecting fraud, waste, and abuse, and not paying that. And also, I spoke about customer delight through our Raksha Prime and our member consent feature that's available. So overall, I would say yes, as a TPA, we are a very important stakeholder in the insurance ecosystem. So that's how I would sum it up.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Vijay. I was lovely talking to you, and with your great insights, I think a lot of viewer will also have an understanding on what a TPA is, how does it function, and what are the different type of claims and processes out there in the market. So thank you so much, Dr. Vijay.
Thank you. Pleasure being here.